What is up, my people? Long time no see. Haven't been able to really have the time to make a video in a fat minute. As some of you may know, your boy fucking tore his ACL about two weeks ago, over 2 weeks ago, and I had to get surgery. So I've just been recovering from that, and I haven't had much time to like fully research the cards, and I don't want to come on here with like a half-assed predictions video where I haven't watched tape and I haven't done what I needed to do to feel comfortable coming on here and talking about the whole card. So I finally was able to do that for UFC Baku. We're going to go ahead and get right into it with my predictions, my breakdowns, and I'll let you know why I'm picking what I'm picking, and you can either ride with me or let me know what you're thinking in the comments. If you agree, disagree, whatever else. All right. So first things first, we got Hamdi Abdel Wahab versus Muhammad Usman. I'm going to go Muhammad Usman just because Hamdi, his last performance against Jamal Pogues, I took the liberty upon myself to watch that terrible fight. And I feel like that was a robbery, to be quite honest with you. I feel like Jamal Pogues could have won rounds 2 and 3. Hamdi had a little bit of success with the wrestling early in round 1, but then Pogues was able to get back up, and then it was just kind of, a sloppy heavyweight boxing match after that at that point. And Usman has fought better guys in Mick Parkin and Thomas Peterson, and he was actually able to hurt Mick Parkin in an exchange or in the first round. And I feel like Mick Parkin is just overall a better heavyweight or a better striker than Hamdi. So Usman was able to hang with better strikers than Hamdi. Thomas Peterson had some wrestling success against Usman. I think sometime in the second round or first round, but Usman was able to get up. And then in the third round, Thomas Peterson took him down maybe 20 seconds after the fight, and then he, controlled top position. But before that, it was very competitive on the feet between the two. Hamdi didn't throw much against Jamal Pogues. Usman has more output. So I feel like just based off of output, Muhammad Usman should be able to get this done. And if you're thinking, oh man, Azerbaijan, they're going to give it to Hamdi because of the bias. Well, fucking Muhammad Usman's name is Muhammad, so that should cancel out any kind of bias. So we're good there. So I'm running with Usman, slight underdog. I just feel like his output and wrestling defense will be able to hold up, and he can get the decision over Hamdi. Maybe a knockout. I mean, both of these guys are pretty durable, big, muscle-bound, fat dudes, but I feel like this should go to decision. Now we got Tagir Ulan Beckov versus Azat Maxim. So Azat Maxim is a pretty significant underdog, and Ulan Beckov, his path to victory is grappling, wrestling, control time. I am going to go ahead and pick Azat Maxim, and I'll tell you why. It's just because, yes, Ulan Beckov has the grappling advantage, he has the wrestling advantage, but the disparity on the feet in the terms of the striking, I feel like is more so than the disparity on the ground. Azat Maxim has some good wrestling. He's got decent wrestling. People say, oh, he was taken down by Charles Johnson. Probably because he was worried about getting knocked the fuck out by Charles Johnson, who is a potent and dangerous striker, unlike Ulan Beckov. Maxim is coming into this fight knowing, okay, Ulan Beckov wants to take me down. This dude's going to try to wrestle me the entire time. He probably didn't think that when he was going into fight with Charles Johnson. He was like, oh, this American guy, he no wrestle, he no grapple, he just boxer, kickboxer. And then he got surprised with the takedowns from Charles Johnson. And Charles Johnson is no slouch, man. He's one of the most underrated fighters in the flyweight division. He knocked out Joshua Van, and we see how much of a savage Joshua Van has been. So losing to Charles Johnson, there's no shame in that. And he hurt Charles Johnson early on the feet. He dropped him twice. And then, it was a competitive fight that Johnson kind of took over a little bit in the later rounds, in rounds 2 and 3. Ulan Beckov does not have the same striking threat as Charles Johnson. Ulan Beckov does not have the same kind of just craftiness that Charles Johnson does, that he has on the feet. Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to start this video over stuttering like a motherfucker over here. I'm not doing it. All right. But Charles Johnson is a more potent striker, like I was saying. Ulan Beckov obviously is a much better wrestler grappler than Johnson, but Maxim has probably been training and preparing for that. Like, okay, I had my grappling kind of checked here against Johnson. Let me go ahead and do everything I can to fix that. He was an undefeated fighter going into that Johnson fight. I'm sure that Johnson fight made him realize, okay, I have some holes in my game. I need to work on that. And he's been out for about 2 years. I think that Johnson fight was back in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. 2024, early 2024, February 3rd. Okay, so yeah, early 2024. He's had a long time to work on that grappling, that wrestling, and he knows what Tagir wants to do in this fight. So I feel like Azat Maxim, if he's able to keep this on the feet, he can outstrike Tagir. He has better footwork, better striking, just overall better. And then I'd say cardio, like durability, they're about even. So I think if Maxim can keep this on the feet, he can piece Ulan Beckov up and he can get a decision win. So I'm going to go with Azat Maxim. If Ulan Beckov just goes out there and wrestle fucks him, it's, shit. It is what it is. I tried to swing big on an underdog and I missed, but if it hits, I'm going to look like a fucking genius. So I'm going to go with Azat Maxim, and that's my reasoning as to why. All right, Irina Alekseeva versus Claudia Sigula. I'm not going to go as long as I did here on this fight as I did with Azat Maxim, Ulan Beckov, but I'm going to go with Alekseeva, just based on their last two fights against Melissa Mullins. Alekseeva took Mullins to a decision, dropped her in the first round, kind of got out grappled and out fought as the fight went on, and Mullins got a decision. Claudia Sigula just got dominated by Melissa Mullins, didn't have much success at all. She just got taken down and then submitted. So I'm just going to say based MMA math, and then just based on Alekseeva's skill set, she has more potent striking. She's more dangerous on the feet with the hands. And then her name's Russian Ronda. So she's going to submit people. She's got good grappling. Just from what I've seen when they both fought Mullins, Alekseeva gave Mullins a tougher fight. So we're going to go with Alekseeva on this one. Now we got Daria Zalesnyakova versus Melissa Mullins, Melissa Dixon, whatever you want to call her. I don't know what her name was changed to, if it was changed to Mullins or Dixon, whatever. So easy pick for me. Melissa Mullins already had finished Daria Zalesnyakova via round one via ground and pound. So I'm just going to give it to Melissa Mullins again. She's solid grappling. She's beaten the two girls under this under her here in Claudia and Irina. So I'm feeling like Melissa Mullins is going to be able to out grapple Daria again. She's got solid grappling, solid striking. Overall, she's a good fighter. Melissa Mullins. I wouldn't be surprised to see her, crack the top 5, get up there in the bantamweight division. And then, Daria Zalesnyakova, she's got some good striking. She's got, some decent hands, but I feel like Mullins is going to be able to exploit her on the ground again. Maybe if she does a little bit better, she might be able to get instead of getting finished in round 1, I think Mullins can maybe take her out in round 2 with a submission or something there. So moving on, we got Junyoung Park versus Ismail Nardiev. I'm going to go with Junyoung Park just because I feel like he has more high-level experience, and he just has a gas tank, dude. He's tough as fuck. He got finished by Gregory Rodriguez, who hits like a monster. Ismail Nardiev fought down at 170. He fought Sean Brady, kind of got out-grappled in rounds 2 and 3. No shame in getting out-grappled by Sean Brady, but that was like 2020 Sean Brady. He wasn't as good as he is now. And he kind of wilted in that Sean Brady fight from what I've seen. And, from what I've seen from Ismail Nardiev, he has some good wrestling, good striking, but he can kind of gas out. He doesn't have the best cardio. And I feel like Junyoung Park's pressure is going to be too much for Nardiev. He's going to take over later in the fight and potentially get a late submission, maybe a late TKO as he just wears on him. Because in the fight against Brad Tavares, that's exactly what Junyoung Park did. He just wore on him, beat him up, got him tired. And I feel like Ismail Nardiev and Brad Tavares are relatively comparable in skill. So we got that there. Yeah, amor. All right, getting back to it here. My girlfriend wanted to freaking put the cat in the frame, but she was going to mess up my whole train of thought. So I was like, get out of here, woman. No, not really. But I was like, come on, you got to let me focus, eh? So we got Sokyeon Ko versus Oban Elliot. Sokyeon Ko is a good striker. He's explosive, fast. He's got good technique. But I just feel like Oban is he's seen better fighters than Sokyeon Ko, just being in the UFC here. Let me go ahead and just take another look at his record. I looked at it. Yeah, not the highest level, to be quite honest with you guys. Val Woodburn, Preston Parsons, Basil Hafez, but he knocked out Basil Hafez. Basil Hafez, was on PEDs to fight JDM, and he gave JDM a tough fight. And then off the PEDs, Oban was able to get him out of there. But Sokyeon Ko, I was watching his Contender Series fight over Igor Cavalcanti. Cavalcanti never made it out of the first round until that Sokyan Ko fight. So he was fighting somebody who was just, relatively a can crusher, some Brazilian that just, gasses out after the first round, has never gone the distance. Oban Elliot has the experience. He's been the distance multiple times. He's not going to gas out like the guy that was fighting Ko in Cavalcanti. And, I feel like Sokyan Ko has potential here in the UFC. He can probably win his next fight. But I feel like Oban Elliot is just going to have the skills and the slickness on the feet and the striking and the cardio to just hang with him and then beat him up as long as the fight's going on. I mean, his name is KO, so shit. I mean, Sokyan Ko KO isn't the craziest thing to happen. It's in his fucking name, but I'm just going to go with Oban Elliot based on the experience factor here, and I think he's going to get it done. Now, Muhammad Nimov versus Bogdan Grad. This fight, I feel like, gave me the toughest time predicting it, because Bogdan Grad, he is aggressive as fuck. He's got a lot of heavy pressure as he comes forward. He doesn't really mind getting hit, even though he's not super hittable. It's smart pressure. It's intelligent pressure. He's not just crashing in, getting pieced up with shots. He's just comes after you hard, and he's just from the opening bell, he's in your face, just swinging fucking hammers at you. So this was hard to call, but Muhammad Nimov, I feel like he's just fought the better guys. He got finished by Felipe Lima, but Felipe Lima is a monster, and I feel like Felipe Lima would also finish Bogdan Grad. So I feel like and Bogdan Grad, he kind of slowed down in round 3 in his Contender Series fight against Michael Aswell. He was kind of just taking shots at the end there, just swinging labored shots, big, heavy labored shots. But I feel like Muhammad Nimov just has better cardio, and I feel like he should be able to keep up with the pace of Bogdan Grad, wrestle when he needs to keep himself safe from the aggressive striking of Grad. And then Muhammad Nimov, I feel like, is a little bit cleaner with the footwork. He should be able to, keep the manage range properly, keep the distance. And, get this is going to be a hard fought fight, though, for sure. I mean, shit. Bogdan Grad is a live dog. But I'm going to go with Muhammad Nimov. I feel like the win against Nathaniel Wood is impressive. He didn't have really any issues with Khan Ofli. Bogdan Grad's, Khan Ofli's no Bogdan Grad, but I feel like it's just overall he has better cardio, and he should be able to hang tough later on in the fight. And we're going to go ahead and keep going. Nazim Sadikov, Nicholas Moda. Sadikov all day. I feel like Sadikov is a lock here. Sadikov has looked insane in his recent fights. He looks really good, well-rounded, good kicks, good hands, good wrestling, good grappling. And Nicholas Moda, he's a power puncher. He comes in with a solid boxing. He can knock you out if you let him land, but I don't see Nazim Sadikov letting him land. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with Sadikov. I feel like he should be able to. He's the better fighter everywhere, really. And if anything, if Nicholas Moda is able to beat him, I feel like it's just a fluke, to be quite honest with you. He just lands the perfect punch, puts Sadikov out. But other than that, I don't see Nicholas Moda getting this done, apart from just the puncher's chance. This fight, I didn't watch too much tape on. I was just convinced. As soon as I see this matchup, I'm like, yes, Sadikov is going to get it. And he's a huge favorite, minus 400. I'm not, telling you guys anything special here. I got Sadikov for the win. Big time. Now we got Miktabek Orai versus Tafik Musayev. I had to go ahead and do some research on Tafik Musayev. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I haven't heard of this dude before. And I did some research. He's got some good striking, 19 first-round finishes. He's, potent on the feet early. But Orai has never been knocked out. And based on his last fight, Orai is tough as shit. And he's not going to get knocked out in the first round against this dude, Tafik Musayev. Tafik Musayev, I watched a fight of his against Alexander Shabli. Very low output fight. And then going into the third round, there's just a lot of... and then another minute. A lot of measuring, a lot of waiting, a lot of just, not really throwing much. Low volume. And then he was tired going into round 3. And then he takes a hard front kick to the solar plexus, kind of grazes his cup a tiny bit on the way down, but the main brunt of the kick was right in his chest. Boom. And he quit. The referee looked at the replay. He said, "Oh, okay, that wasn't low. That was a clean shot. Can you continue?" And he was just on the ground, kind of squatting. He had to call his corner up to go ahead and translate. Can he continue? Can he continue? Nothing really is confirmed between the fighter, the translator, and the referee, Jason Herzog. And then the corner man goes away. And then he asked Tafik Masayev, he's like, are you going to continue fighting? And then Tafik, just, kind of like holding his abdomen in pain. And then the cornerman asks Tafik Masayev, are you going to continue? He says, no. And then the fight's over. Boom. He quit from a kick to the solar plexus. There is absolutely not an ounce of quit in Miktabek Orai. We saw that in his last fight. This guy was unfrozen from a glacier 10,000 years ago to fight in the UFC. And fucking this is his great-great-grandfather. That's not his this is Miktabek Orai. He was frozen in a glacier, and the UFC unfroze this man so he can fucking fight in the UFC and get these wins. So 10,000 BC Miktabek Orai is going to get this done. He's going to take Tafik Masayev into the later rounds, and he's going to beat the shit out of him. Whether it's in the grappling or the striking and just via the pressure, Miktabek Orai is an animal, and Tafik Masayev has quit before. And I'm not going to pick a quitter over Miktabek Orai, who does not have an ounce of quit in him. So now here we go, moving on. Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. I'm not impressed with Kunv at all, man. To be quite honest with you guys, he did not fight anyone of any kind of caliber in his Dana White Contender Series fight. He fought like a Brazilian heavy-handed striker in the first time. He did solid with the wrestling. Got a round 3 TKO by ground and pound. But that was a competitive fight going just as it went on. All right, so. Big muscle-bound Brazilian Kunv was fighting in his first Contender Series fight. Lots of clinch work against the fence. Lots of, kind of like land prey. And then he eventually was able to get him out of there with the ground and pound in round 3. And, he fought Renan Ferreira, took advantage of him on the ground, but that fight was overturned because Kunv is a roid cheat. So, yeah, he looked great, but he was on PEDs. And then his second Contender Series fight, he gets a first-round stoppage. But this guy, the guy that he was fighting is not anywhere close to being UFC caliber. He was flinching from the very beginning of the fight, just biting on every feint, just fucking terrified to get hit. And he was just hugging Kunv up against the fence, had really nothing on the feet whatsoever, couldn't get him down, and then he eventually just was up against the cage. Kunv landed some shots in the clinch, and this guy just essentially quit. It was not anything impressive whatsoever, just based on the opponent. Yeah, he got this dude out of here, but Hugo Cunha, come on. The dude, honestly, he looked pretty cowardly in that fight, and then he just got finished. So Curtis Blades has only been knocked out by the best of the best. Francis Ngannou twice, Tom Aspinall, Sergey Pavlovich, and then he got knocked out in a fight against Derek Lewis that he was winning because he shot a takedown. Derek Lewis caught him with the perfect uppercut, put him to sleep. So Kunv, I feel like, is not on the same level as those guys at all. He's not. He has power, yes, but he doesn't have the same delivery system as those other fighters, where he can just really put it on you, pressure you heavy. He can push Curtis Blades up against the fence, which I feel like Curtis Blades should have a good answer for. Being able to get off the fence. Curtis Blades is a solid wrestler, and I feel like Curtis Blades just should have the striking advantage in this fight, just being more technical, at least with his hands, and just better footwork overall. It's got a big reach advantage. So yeah, I'm gonna go Curtis Blades. I haven't been impressed watching the tape on Rizvan Kunv. I feel like Curtis Blades should get this done. He's fought much better competition, and he's only been finished by the best of the best. So moving on, we're gonna go ahead and break down Phys and Bahamundes. Man, this fight has given me tough times as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and pick Phys, and even though Bahamundes has that crazy reach and height advantage, he got that knockout over Manuel Torres. He has a good highlight reel, but that fight against Ludovic Klein, I just can't look past it. I just can't look past it because I'm sure that Phys has fought tall guys before. I'm sure that he's trained with tall guys before. He should be able to have an answer for what Bahamundes has. And I feel like Phys is essentially just a better version of Ludovic Klein. Phys was taking down Justin Gaethje in the first round. He went 3 hard rounds with Justin Gaethje. He got cracked by Justin Gaethje, dropped by that uppercut in the clinch, and he just survived and was able to keep going. Now, I don't think Ignacio Bahamundes hits as hard as Justin Gaethje. So if he can take shots from Gaethje and keep going, I'm pretty sure he can take shots from Bahamundes and keep going. And Phys is very fast, very technical, very slick on the feet. And if he wanted to, I'm sure he could take this fight down to the ground and keep himself safe if he gets hurt. avoid the triangle. We saw with Jalen Turner, Bahamundes got that triangle that Jalen Turner just kind of gave to him. But I feel like Phys, he should just be technical enough on the feet and to just counter strike Bahamundes. Bahamundes was getting outstruck and countered by Ludovic Klein, who are him and Phys are essentially the same size, I'm pretty sure. And like I said, Phys probably is just a little bit better than Ludovic Klein on the feet. So I feel like wrestling goes to Phys, the striking relatively even, jiu-jitsu probably Bahamundes, footwork. I feel like Phys is a little bit better with the footwork. A lot of what Ignacio gets away with is because he has the long reach and the height advantage over most of the people that he's fighting. So I feel like cardio-wise, they're similar. I feel like fight IQ, Phys is a little bit smarter just in the cage. He's had more experience, high-level experience, with Muay Thai. And this is going to be a striking fight. So Phys has all the striking experience I feel like he needs to hang with Bahamundes, and overall, and he has the hometown advantage. So I feel like that's going to be big for Phys fighting in Azerbaijan in front of his people. And I feel like he has the tools to get this done. And this is an even fight. I mean, Ignacio can obviously give him problems with the reach and the height, but I feel like Phys should be able to have the skills to take care of that. And if not, then Ignacio is going to go ahead and keep him at range, pick him apart, and he's gonna look good. But if Phys can close that distance and crack him like Ludovic Klein did, then I feel like it's going to be a tough night for Ignacio, especially if Phys starts mixing in some takedowns as well, like we saw he did against Justin Gaethje. So moving to the main event, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree. This one I had a hard time picking too, just because both guys are very dangerous, have heavy power with the hands. Hill, he's got good boxing. He's got a lot of power. Khalil, same thing. He's got good Muay Thai. He's got a lot of power. So I don't see this fight going the distance. Khalil gassed out against Alex Pereira, but that was at elevation. Baku, Azerbaijan, is sea level. So I don't feel like Khalil should have any kind of cardio issues here going into this fight with Jamal Hill. I don't see it going the distance just because these guys swing to knock people out, and they swing to finish, and they fight to finish. So I don't see it going the distance, but I just feel like Khalil, I feel like I like his team better. I like his dedication to being an athlete better than Jamal Hill's. Jamal Hill's kind of fighting out of like a small team out of Detroit, Michigan, not really high level. He was able to beat Glover Teixeira, who was very, very washed, and get a win there and win the title. And Rountree, he looked good against Pereira, obviously, until he got the shit beaten out of him in rounds 3 and 4, mainly 4. But, he was keeping it competitive with Pereira, which is, I see like something that's very impressive. That's going to be something that's going to be giving Hill a lot of confidence. Just going hard with Pereira, having success in that fight. And Hill, he got chinned by Pereira, whatever, he got kicked low, and, it threw him off, blah, blah, blah. And then he got knocked out by Yuri Prohashka. I feel like Hill, coming off of 2 knockout losses, who knows what kind of headspace he's in. He's probably, kind of angry and pissed off. He wants to show the world, like, I'm going to fucking come in here and knock Khalil Rountree out, which he's definitely capable of doing. He has solid power. He has a height and reach advantage. But I just feel like Khalil's team and the like sparring partners, coaches, everything is just going to be better than Jamal Hill's, and he's just going to have a better game plan going into this, better preparation. He's just a more dedicated and committed athlete than Jamal Hill. He, gets fat in between fights. Khalil doesn't really get fat in between fights. He takes care of himself. He's always training, I feel like. So I feel like Rountree should get this done just based on being the better athlete here. I feel like if the going gets tough, both guys are dogs. Both guys, have taken damage before and kept going. But I just feel like Rountree, he should just be a little bit cleaner with the technique, and he should be able to catch Jamal Hill, counter him well. And from there, we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't see this fight going the distance, but crazier fights have gone to the distance before, like Justin Gaethje and Phys and things like that. So we'll see. I'm predicting a knockout, but you never know. But my pick is going to be Khalil, and that is the full card, my people. He boy's looking kind of rough. I could have shaved my beard, but this isn't a fucking beauty pageant. None of you guys care what I look like. You know, if this was a beauty pageant, MMA Guru wouldn't be the number one guy here on YouTube. So it doesn't matter. You know, your boy needs a haircut. Nobody gives a shit. But that's what my picks are going to be. Azat Maxim, dog call. You know, if he wins, remember that I called that shit. But if he loses, you know, what are you going to say? You know, Tagir was a big favorite. But yeah, no, I'll go ahead and ride with my Maxim pick. I feel like he should be able to win on the feet and keep it competitive enough in the grappling to, you know, get up and then piece Ulan Beckov up. But that's what we got. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. I'm going to be more consistent with the content. You know, the ACL's feeling better. I can finally sit in my chair, and we're good. We're golden. We're going to keep going. See you guys later. Peace out. Thank you.